Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard. Thank you for watching today's Corn Belt Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, on Tuesday morning, we'll start off looking at the visible satellite picture, and we can see an upper-level wave tracking across the state of Michigan right now. This passed through the upper Midwest during the day on Monday, bringing some rain showers to parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and isolated thunderstorms to parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Now seeing a cold front dragged across parts of Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, back into Kansas. That's why we're seeing this cloud cover. It'll be a bit of a cloudy day and a little bit cooler across parts of the central and the eastern Corn Belt than we were about 24 hours ago during the day on Monday. Overnight, though, we did have some widely isolated thunderstorms tracking through central Illinois. I woke up to a clap of thunder, fell back asleep, but a friend of mine, Paul Hadfield, he snapped this photo of some of that lightning here, again, just as it kind of quietly made its way through parts of central Illinois. Looking at the temperatures here, 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning, again, we can kind of draw that front in here, stretching back from the south and the west from that low pressure across the state of Michigan. So a little bit warmer for your Tuesday if you're living in parts of Ohio into Kentucky and Tennessee, but maybe a little bit cooler behind that front for the rest of the Corn Belt. But we do rebound quickly as we loop those temperatures. You see the cold front come through, and then we immediately begin pumping warm, seasonally appropriate air back into the region. The last 24 hours of precipitation, here you go. You see those heavier showers across parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, into northern Michigan in this general area, but then those isolated thunderstorms across parts of Illinois, Iowa, getting into Indiana and Ohio as we get into the day on Tuesday. Just light, widely scattered precipitation. Now we're starting to see the early signs of our next storm system, the slow-moving low that's going to kind of meander through the southern U.S., but may bring some precipitation to parts of the Ohio River Valley, the southern regions of the Corn Belt. If we look at the next 5 days, taking this through into Saturday morning, this is from the NBM, the National Blended Model, and what you see is a pretty dry stretch across parts of the Corn Belt here, getting up to the northern plains, through the upper Midwest, and then down through parts of the central and the eastern Corn Belt. This storm system that tracks through the area here early this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday, it does clip parts of the southern region here, as we're talking about Kentucky, Tennessee, maybe southern Illinois, southern Indiana, parts of southern Ohio, but largely staying dry for the next 4 to 5 days here across the Corn Belt. We take this out the next 10 days, so all the way through Wednesday of next week into Thursday morning. We're talking about May 2nd now. We do enter a period here where we're going to see kind of quick moving systems across the northern plains, bringing chances for precipitation in light and scattered amounts. It looks kind of daunting on this map here, but we're talking about kind of scattered shower and thunderstorm activity where it's not the big bowling ball storm systems that come through and bring, it takes 2 days to get through and it rains the entire time. No, we're not talking about a pattern like that. So it looks... Again, I'll take my drawings off here and we'll flip back here. So the next 5 days, pretty dry, pretty favorable across this area. I think that will really, parts of Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio, I would imagine that planters will be running there trying to get it in before we maybe enter a period here next week where maybe the dry opportunities aren't quite so widespread. But even over the next 10 days, it's not going to happen exactly as the weather model shows here, but even some of these regions here, seeing some suggestion that maybe the next 10 days are mostly, if not completely dry. So the next 5 days, going to look pretty good across the Corn Belt as far as precipitation goes. Beyond that, 5 to 10 days, a little less certainty, a little less predictability, but still not flipping at least to a pattern that looks like we'll be dealing with these multi-day storm systems that are just totally disruptive, maybe just dealing with days or two here where we're not able to get out into the fields. Now, how does this all happen? Well, we'll start with the high-resolution NAM model. And again, you'll see this first storm system across parts of the upper Midwest tracking through the Great Lakes. We'll then watch this low across the southern plains slowly make its way to the east, bringing some rain activity to parts of the southern Corn Belt into the Ohio River Valley. Let's go ahead and play this out, and there you see it. Getting into the day on Wednesday now. Into Wednesday evening and Wednesday night, and now Thursday morning is where this freezes. And again, we're not talking about any widespread day-long rains here. These are isolated showers and thunderstorms, even as you get down into the south. But in this area, not talking about disruptive storm systems. We're talking about the opportunities here for isolated showers. So let's look at the European model. We'll take it out about 10 days, and on the left, you're looking at vorticity. On the right, we're looking at precipitation type and surface level pressure. And what we watch for here when we loop out the visibility or the vorticity on the left here is these patchy areas where you see the colors there. That's spin in the atmosphere, and that's where we watch for the development of storm systems and subsequently the development of precipitation. And as we play this out for the next couple of days, we're watching this storm system as it makes its way off to the east, and of course plenty of precipitation going to be associated with that as it slides off to the south of the Corn Belt. So let's loop this ahead. We're into Wednesday. Now we're seeing some of those light showers into parts of the Corn Belt. But again, light showers, not everyone's getting the rain, and we're not soaking things at this point. We start moving towards the weekend. This moves off to the east. We're dry again across the Corn Belt here. And we start watching our next little system that slides through on Saturday. Here it is right now. We are on Saturday morning, and this begins to slide off to the southeast. So getting through the day Saturday. Seeing some rain activity, maybe some thunderstorms across parts of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana into Ohio. Maybe the chance with some cold air coming on the backside of here, seeing some snow flurries across parts of Wisconsin, but we're not expecting any major accumulations from this. This should pass by pretty quietly. And then here's what I'm talking about as we get to, so it's mostly dry for the end of the week here. We get to Saturday, we see this little storm system tracking through parts of the central and the eastern Corn Belt. And then we enter this pattern, talking about, starting Saturday, getting through the middle part of next week, where we just kind of quickly see these little storm systems following this track, going across the Central Plains into the Midwest. Not a lot of certainty with this, so I'm not slowing down. I'm not going to talk about specific days and specific impacts. I just want to point out that as we talk about today through Saturday, things look pretty ideal across a big portion of the Corn Belt here. Pretty quiet and pretty dry. As we look at days 5 through 10, we're talking about this weekend into mid next week. Not completely flipping to a wet pattern, but we're not going to be shut down totally dry either. You're going to have to watch the forecast day by day. I'll have another Corn Belt regional forecast on Friday. We'll have another one Tuesday next week. You'll have Eric giving your 2-week outlooks here on Thursday and Monday morning. So we'll hit each of these little storm systems as they make their way through. I just want to point out the overall pattern. Days 1 through 5, pretty favorable, pretty dry across this region. Days 5 through 10, going to be a little bit more iffy, but not a completely wet, not a soaker pattern, just one we're going to have to watch here day by day. That's how we get to a solution that looks like this. We just take the European model, just taking its direct output, running it out for the next 10 days, all the way into the end of next week. And what do you see? Well, it's pretty dry as the loop starts off across this region. But then as we get towards the last half, there you go. You see it start to fill in, but it's scattered in nature and maybe favoring this region here where perhaps we're looking at a pattern where we see storm systems develop and track off to the east-northeast where we're seeing that thunderstorm activity seasonally appropriate, talking about thunderstorms and maybe some severe weather tracking from the Central Plains into the middle part of the country, into the Corn Belt. So again, I probably said this about 6 times, but for today through Saturday, I think it's going to be some mostly good news across the Corn Belt, and I do think that we'll get rolling here with planting. But next week, looking a little less certain. Not a soaker pattern, not a totally dry pattern, a pattern with a little low predictability, low confidence with it. And so you're just going to have to stick with us here each day as we put out these forecasts. What does that mean for temperatures? Well, for the rest of the week, it's going to be pretty seasonally appropriate. We're going to see that warmer air filling into the Corn Belt, seeing mostly pretty stable temperatures, right about where they should be this time of year. But as we get into next week, as we flip to this pattern where maybe we're seeing storm systems tracking through the central part of the country, it does look like we'll see kind of cooler risks across the northern half of the Corn Belt. So the Dakotas into Minnesota and Wisconsin, maybe seeing slightly cooler risks in this region. And then kind of draw a line south there. It looks like south of that line, anywhere from Kansas into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, probably pretty close to average. So cooler north, close to average on the south side there. And that's what you kind of see as we play this out, looking again at the next 10 days or so. What does that actually mean in terms of temperatures? Well, I'm not going to touch next week yet, but to get us through this week, starting off with our Tuesday high temperatures, of course, you're seeing that front sag through the area, so cooler temperatures across the central Corn Belt, already warming up, though, across parts of the north, and then, of course, warmer in these regions where the cold front hasn't yet made its way through. Wednesday high temperatures starting to rebound across the central U.S. Thursday, Friday, and now we're watching our next storm system develop across the northern plains and track into this region. And so as we get to the day on Saturday, that's where we're seeing maybe rain, thunderstorm chances, perhaps again maybe some light snow across northern Wisconsin, but I'm not concerned about accumulating snow at this point. But in general, seeing rain and cloud cover keeping us a bit cooler from Iowa to Ohio, but still warm air already making its way up on the backside there, so the cool down doesn't last too long. But now you're starting to see that pattern shape up as we get to Sunday high temperatures, where you can almost draw a line here with cooler risks across the north and then pretty close to average across the southern half of the Corn Belt. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video, and I'll have your next Corn Belt regional forecast for you right here midday on Friday. Have a great day.